everyone, so today is going to be a little bit of a TMI topic, but if you have watched my videos for a while then you know that I don't shy away from TMI topics. But I had mentioned in a video recently about talking about ways to make a bikini wax or Brazilian wax, whatever kind of you choose to do, less painful, and I am going to kind of just put a disclaimer out there first that obviously a lot of it depends kind of on your personal pain threshold. I've got a really high pain threshold, and I don't find bikini, like I do a proper Brazilian wax and I don't find it to be painful at all really. I'm used to it now. I've been doing it myself for years, probably like, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years. So it's something that's always been very, very kind of easy and quick for me. It's not kind of a mission, and it's not something that I find particularly painful. It kind of stings for a minute and it's done. It's not something that I'm like, oh god, it's gonna hurt, and I put it off. It just, I get on with it and it doesn't really bother me. So kind of, you know, if you're someone who finds things very, very painful, this might be a little bit different for you, but there are definitely a few steps and a few things that are worth mentioning that will really help you make the experience overall less painful. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is one that is a very kind of common fact, but I just want to kind of stress it because I used to think this was a myth and it's not. And that is, do not attempt to have a bikini wax around your period time. Now, this can be if you're doing it yourself or if you go to a salon. I know a lot of women prefer to go to a salon, but doing it during your period, your hormones are kind of all over the place and that your sensitivity levels are a lot higher, and it really, really does hurt more. It's just not worth going there. And the other thing is as well, if you're going to have it done, obviously, don't go and do it around that time because it's not very pleasant for the waxer, first of all. And quite a lot of places have kind of policies that they won't do it during that time anyway. Some places do, but it's probably not the most pleasant thing. And it will hurt more. That's just a fact. Everything will be more sensitive and it will be really, really painful, and I just wouldn't recommend it. It just kind of isn't worth it really. But you can kind of do it maybe a little bit after. Doing it a little bit before, you still can be a bit sensitive, but try and kind of do it as far away from that kind of time as possible because it will just hurt more. And I also find that it kind of makes you bleed more when whether they do it with strip wax or not, whatever. I find that it kind of makes you bleed from the pores a little bit, but that's tip number one. Tip number two is to take a couple of painkillers before. Now, this is something that, you know, this is not going to make you have no pain at all, but it does kind of just dull it down a little bit. And it is a little bit. Don't expect miracles. It just kind of dulls everything down a little bit and makes it a little bit more bearable. Personally, I think paracetamol works the best, but whatever, if you like, you know, aspirin or whatever. Then the next tip is to do with the type of wax that you use. Now, I personally think that when you use fabric strips, it works a lot better than when you kind of use paper strips. Now, I know that kind of the paper strips are sort of woven fabric and that kind of thing, but I used to go to a waxer who used fabric strips. They were like strips of cloth, and that was amazing because it was so precise, it was so quick. And if you kind of think about the area in general, it's not, you know, just a straight area. It's not your legs. They're kind of like little crevices and curves and stuff. Like, even if you're just lying down, they're kind of curved downwards. It's not as straightforward as that, so it really, really helps to do it that way because it can kind of get every hair, and it kind of does it in a less awkward way, I find, which is less painful because you're not having to kind of repeat the area and kind of do it that way. So I do find that if you can find a waxer who does it that way, that works really well. Most waxers now use stripless wax, which is kind of what the wax I use is, which is the Near Nourish Salon Divine Body Wax. This is what I use, have used this for ages. But I find that this brings me into the next tip, that waxing yourself is so much less painful than having someone else do it. Now, I know you might think that I'm crazy, and I get that a lot of people have that kind of can't pull the strip, can't yank the hair out type of phobia almost. But I really don't have that. I really think that it hurts less when you do it, because you know when the pain's coming. When you're lying there and someone else is doing it, you're kind of jerking because you're nervous and you don't know when it's coming, and then your kind of body spasms a little bit, and I just find it a lot more painful. If you haven't ever tried to do it yourself, then I have got kind of videos on the subject, but I definitely think that it hurts a lot less if you do it. And this leads me on to my final tip, which is to do it often. And that might kind of sound a bit crazy, because why would you want to put yourself through that? But there are a couple of reasons. First of all, the shorter the hair is, and obviously it has to be long enough for the wax to be able to grab it, but don't kind of let it grow really bushy and long, because then it does hurt so much more even if you trim it down. I find the perfect time to do it is when you've got 2 weeks of regrowth. Now this can vary from person to person, obviously, because everyone's regrowth rate is different. My regrowth rate is literally like a mammoth. It's just, I mean, I'm the most hairy person in the world. My hair regrowth is just mental. And I do it once every 2 weeks. Now there are certain areas kind of in that area where it grows kind of a lot finer after you've waxed it a couple of times, like the whole underneath area I find grows really fine and it's not too much of a problem. And then kind of everywhere else I use different methods. I'll kind of epilate in between in that, just because I don't like being hairy, but that's entirely up to you. But kind of 2 to 3 weeks regrowth is the perfect time. Maybe 2.5 is kind of, I wouldn't push it to 3, because I think sometimes that can be a bit long. But the shorter the hair is, it's just so easy and less painful. Like, you will be shocked at the difference of doing it kind of 2 weeks in versus if you wait a full 4 weeks for everything to grow back. It is really different, and I just do it every 2 weeks. I kind of write it in my diary. I write BW, and that just stands for bikini wax. And so I know exactly kind of when I'm due to do it next. And I use, as I said, the Near Hair Remover Nourish Natural Argan Oil Salon Body Wax. This claims to be a Bye Pain formula. That's, like, you know, not true at all. But it just looks like that. It's messy. Just looks like that, and I use this, it's usually on offer in Boots, and it just works really well. I do big sections as well. I find that a lot less painful. I have been to kind of professional bikini waxes where they will do it in lots of little small sections. Some people say that that works better for them. I don't think it does. I think kind of what you want to do is you want to just get it over and done with as quickly as possible. So I do it in big sections, and I kind of try and zone how I do it. So like I said, I don't do kind of the front bit, because I epilate that kind of every couple of days, because I just like everything to be neat. And obviously depends on your personal preference whether you like a landing strip or whatever you like. And that's what I prefer personally. And then kind of the underneath part, if I just do it in one big strip, and I won't use this the wax strip, the wax applicator that comes with it, because it's just really small. I just find that not that great. I will use a bigger one that I have, like a wax applicator. You can buy those in lots of different places, and just do it in one big go. Pull it off after a couple of seconds once the wax hardens a little bit, and it's all done in one go. You don't have to repeat it, and the kind of growth is so fine that it just gets everything, and you're clean kind of feeling all the time. So those are my tips. I hope these were helpful for you. Please let me know if kind of you do it at home and how you've experienced this, or if you're someone that goes to a salon and kind of does it that way. But I definitely think that kind of it's not the most painful thing in the world at all. I think it gets a bad rap, and I genuinely think that, like, threading your upper lip hurts more than a bikini wax, but that's just me. Obviously other people have different pain thresholds and whatever. But yeah, I would love to know your tips down below, and I hope this video is helpful for you. That's why I wanted to do it, because I thought a lot of people kind of do really struggle with it, and it's not something that I think's too much of a problem, so I thought I'd share with you. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye.